Hey, what's up? This video isn't gonna make a lot of sense, but it's just gonna be me more so throwing my thoughts out there, which I think is personally my favorite type of videos to do. But first off, I want to talk about like research stuff. So sometimes when we talk about or thinking about recently is which research path I want to go into. There's obviously like different stuff like computer vision. I know it's a hard one right now. There's more foundational machine learning stuff. I think the research question or area I want to kind of go into is much it's more the personalization area where it's like more so human centric in the sense where it's like how can I get an AI to fully understand the human, not just in the sense of patterns, but actually understand um, how I guess it is patterns at the end of the day, like better understand those patterns and gain more insights and predictions from that person. I think that's something that's really interesting. Obviously, it has like good and bad applications. You could think of like the military applications of this, of maybe a military state where you could like track everyone and see how likely they are to commit crimes. And there's certain technology like that, regardless of how good it is currently. There is a idea that could be used for bad stuff, but I also think it could be used for really great stuff. Like for quests, something I'm really curious about is how I can best tailor quests to help people achieve their goals, and that's something where I think this research question really applies really well to. Because if there's an AI system that could really say, okay, I know the best way to get from point A to B, point A and B being one situation to another, right? In like a 2 year time frame. They're not, and I know this person really want to know where their weaknesses. I know their schedule. I know their location. I know where they travel. I know what's likely to happen in terms of like, oh, when they're about to lose motivation, stuff like that. Then maybe that AI system could probably like tailor tasks and quests to help them reach that point B point. I think it's something really, really cool to look into. I'm still looking into it now. Um, I'm excited. I think it's a space that I think I have passion in, not just because of Quest. I know I said that earlier in my previous episode, but I think it's an area that's like I know I really love AI. I think it's a really great tool, but I also think a tool is only as good as its use. And I think AI is really the most predominant use case for AI is in the consumers. Or the most exciting use case for AI, in my opinion, is in that human consumer space where it's like I'm using it, or my brother, my friend, my mom, my dad, my cousin, like people like that are using it. I think that's where I want to be, especially in this scenario with this research where it's much more on the consumer level, not like on the business level or enterprise level. Um, but speaking of research, something I've been thinking about recently is that I do try to look at a lot of research papers, and very often it's like I see a research paper blurb or wherever, or abstract is probably the better term to use. I say research, same thing, but I see a research paper abstract, and then I'm like, okay, dang, this is a cool research paper, but I don't want to read it right now, and I don't know what to store it because if I store it in the Google Docs, that becomes like too clouded or whatever. So I was thinking of like maybe building my own Chrome extension to do such a thing where it's like I can store my research papers. This kind of goes back to the something I was talking about a couple months ago in terms of manga. I remember I was reading, or I wanted to read a lot more manga, but I always lost like the pages I was on or chapters. So I wanted a place that kind of store all of that. But before I did this video, I started looking into it. There's kind of a tool like that. It's called like Instapaper. But apparently, just introduced a free, a premium model. It's like the free model has like ads and a limited amount of notes. So I'm thinking in my head, maybe it's just better. Since I'm just one person, I only intend to use it for myself. Maybe it's actually better I built a tool myself. And actually get the experience and also the gratification of having my own tool. And it's like I do for free as well. Obviously, I could just use stuff like Obsidian and stuff like that and just post it there, but I feel like I want to just be natively in my Chrome extension, in my Chrome browser. But speaking of building tools, something I've been thinking about for a while now as well is AI building tools. Like vibe code is one thing, but like the idea of AI building tools in real time. So imagine like an app where like you want a user has a very specific function they want to execute, and the AI builds that to in real time. So it's like, okay, now that's a new function that the user can do. Right, I think that I was thinking of stuff like that for my own app, like Quest. Like maybe the Quest of the day could just be like a mini game within the app that the AI, instead of having that pre-built, the AI just kind of builds that in real time. The one issue I was wondering is like in terms of issues and like bugs that the AI maybe doesn't see the first round of building it, and not even like even the first round of review that has to be spotted out by a real person. That might be not something so good on the consumer side of things, but like I think it's such a cool idea of just having like AI build tools in real time, and it's just like that could be like the new face of technology. Not something I've been thinking about even when I was working with SGB in this week, where I was trying to like send a bunch of emails. I said, hey AI, write this code that can take this template email and then help me like format it for each person specifically, right? And obviously there's probably tools like that out there already, but I don't want to go looking for that. And so it's cool to just use AI to build a tool like that. So I think it's really cool in the sense of like, okay, now we live in a time and space where we can actually just build tools on the fly. It doesn't take like hiring a coder or a programmer, whatever you want to call it, to get that done. You can just do it yourself. I think um, a lot of the talk has been on like, oh, you can build your own business, you can build your own startup and all of that. But I think a lot of the use case we're probably going to see in the next 5 or 10 years is going to be predominantly in building your own tools for yourself, right? So it's not going to be a space where it's like, okay, who has the best Chrome extension, who has the best app for this. It's going to be like, okay, if this is a very niche application that I find myself needing every day, that I can just build my own tool for it, right? And since I'm only one person, it doesn't need to have like some large database to like have stored data in. It could just be for me. I think that's something I'm really interested in. And obviously, there's some counter arguments in that regard of like, okay, um, probably sound like an AI could build it, but then probably like there's probably a company or a startup out there who could actually build it better for you, and you don't have to worry about maintaining the code or making sure it's up to date and all of that. But I think it's cool. I think it's exciting. I'm excited to see it. In my notes for the episode, I put like kind of like Mario Maker in the sense of like the AI is actually building stuff in real time. I think that's a new area of technology I'm excited to see. And I think maybe that's even like some mobile phones or companies like Apple and Samsung could even go into, over you have like an app builder in a sense where it's like, okay, you have your app store, but now you have your app builder. I know Apple in their recent keynote speaker event, they released something similar to this, or I think was a predictor they were, where it's basically like you have an AI that can like create shortcut functions. I'm not sure if I can't remember what I heard that in the prediction video. I think they announced it in the keynote thing, but I'm not sure Apple did it at the end of the day. But if they didn't, they definitely should do. I think that's something really cool. But I think I would really love to see that be a new frontier because it puts a lot more control in the user side of things, and it makes everyone an engineer. I think that's something that I think that's where you're going to see the education landscape really change a lot, where it's going to be much more engineer, programmer oriented in terms of how we think of approaching problems, especially with the new set of tools in front of everyone right now. But yeah, I'm excited. Even just like thinking about, I know I said I don't really want to like stay in the AI education landscape, but I remember I was using AI right now to just figure out like what research path, like find the right keywords. And then I remember a couple years back, I was in this lesson with my librarian. She was teaching us about like how to do proper research and like the key terms you should use for Google Scholar. And then like you can just use AI to kind of go into it, and then it can give you like the keywords that you're maybe missing, like the jargon you don't know for the particular topic you're researching, and that could change your whole research game. And it's just so cool how you can get that done so easily with an AI tool instead of like even like going from paper to paper, grabbing like unique words. So even something like that, something I feel like is gonna be like a new thing taught in school. But it's exciting. I really do think schools, I don't think they need to implement a certain model or a certain company into their curriculum immediately, but I do think they should implement a certain framework of thinking and approaching these AI tools like very, very soon. I don't think it's something you have to wait like 5 to 10 years to see how it plays out because it doesn't really make sense. I think with frameworks are much more adaptable rather than like saying, hey, here's how you use ChatGPT, or here's how you use Claude, or here's how you use Gemini. If you have a framework that can approach problems, then that's much more it's much more long standing in that regard, that you don't have to worry about what company stays in the long term or stays in the short term. It's really just something I think it changes their approach. I think aware of educators, it's like, okay, if we try and implement, because it's a very fast changing technology, so you can't just like implement it and then change the curriculum again and again for each new update. But I think with a framework approach, even with the DoD, I know the DoD, I think it's the DoD, Department of Defense. I know they're having their own internal debates about that in terms of they have their risk. They have this risk framework for adopting new technologies, but then the new directors want to change it to a more fast-paced adoption because it takes very long for the DoD and government agencies to adopt certain technologies. That's what I meant, not DoD, but government agencies. and they're trying to make it much more fast and trying to figure out different approaches. Obviously, there's arguments for both sides of the coin, whether it be you need to you need to keep up with the pace because other places in the world, whether it be terrorist organizations or foreign governments, they are going with the faster pace. But I also think on the other end of things, if you keep up too fast, you kind of lose that side, the sign of or the you forget about safety, and if you forget about safety, that's when stuff like bugs accumulate, and that's when you vulnerabilities accumulate, and that's when you have people like hackers or bad actors who can take advantage of those vulnerabilities you gathered in pursuit of quickly getting new technology that may not even be beneficial in certain regards. But it's exciting. I'm excited personally. I always love just getting back because I think today I was kind of locked down in that regard in the past couple of days. I just love this whole space. I think it's exciting. I think regardless of who you are, just kind of look into the technology, dabble into it. I'm very biased, but it's a very exciting area in all regards, and it's awesome. But besides that, though, I have nothing else to say. So have a great day.